Angie,
John.
we spend so much time helping clients reflect, review, and grow, but how often do we actually turn that same process back on ourselves?
Oh, I don't know if I want to answer that, but I think a lot of coaches treat their own sessions like a dodgy first draft. Hit record, deliver it live, and hope the client doesn't notice the typos. But the truth is, the best coaches keep leveling up by reviewing their own performance.
They do. Otherwise, we're like personal trainers who never exercise. So today, we're looking at how to review your own coaching sessions without spiraling into self-loathing or pretending that you're flawless.
Mm, which, let's be honest, are the two extremes most of us kind of bounce between. So let's see if we can't find the middle ground.
Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie.
The show for professional coaches who want to develop their skills and grow their business.
Follow the show on your favorite podcast app.
And join us every Wednesday for new episodes.
Angie, I never used to review myself, but I do it more now. In fact, I've been kind of put in positions where I've had to do it. And I find in that there's so many different places in which I review myself. Coaching sessions is just one of them, but I do feel it's important. But I know you've been reviewing your own coaching sessions as much more standard practice than me. So tell me a bit like, when did you start doing that and why did you start doing that?
Yeah, I have to say, I wish I could say to you, oh, I had this big epiphany and I thought, wow, what a great way to level up my coaching skills. But that wasn't how it happened. What happened was I was working for a pretty big coaching company, and part of their process, it's one of my certifications. One of those pieces to every session delivered was coach self-evaluation. And it really gave a great comprehensive breakdown of how do you think you did? And it wasn't airy fairy. So when I would say 6 years ago, I started doing it into my career. I think previous to that, it was more like only brought onto my radar if I felt something was wrong in the session. And then I'd be ruminating, going, what happened? What happened? What happened? What was wrong? What could I have done? They're mad at me. Maybe not to that extreme. It wasn't of my own decision, to be honest.
Yeah. For me, the first time I ever had a coaching session review wasn't me that
Mm.
was reviewing it. I had to record it for someone else to review.
Mm.
And that scared me. And that made me realize I've never done that. And maybe I should. So I had to get a coaching session reviewed and I got a lot of feedback and it wasn't all great. It was a lot of developmental feedback. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't tearing me to shreds, but it was a lot. And there's so many things I can be doing better. There's a lot of room for improvement, which in some ways is good, but there are others ways in which it made me feel a bit, I'm not all that. I'm not such a great coach as I want to be yet. There's work to be done. But it did make me pick up a few things, notice what was really going on, and see the value of, I've always seen the value of getting feedback, even though it doesn't always feel good, even when it's your own feedback.
Yeah, it's important. Initially, I was probably uncomfortable with it, but it's because I was looking at it all wrong. Instead of looking at it as a tool to better myself, because better coaching to me meant reading a book, a new certification, or something. And maybe that is still true. Learning something new and presenting it and practicing it. Even vocabulary, I just started getting into that. Another higher level of vocabulary that I'd like to use during sessions. But anyway, different story.
Okay, we'll wait for that to
Yeah,
kick in.
you're so funny. And it's true. It is very true. The real truth of the matter is now I look for it. I'm not uncomfortable with self evaluation anymore. And I actually wish I had more opportunity to even put it out there to other people. Hey, listen to this recording of my call. What are your thoughts? Because we've learned to be self aware instead of self conscious as coaches, you and I, after all these years. But really, who's telling us like we're getting it right or wrong? Clients might think we're great and we might actually suck. We might be just really keeping them comfortable and it feels good. So, what's the tool? Right?
There's so many things. Look, I have this theory. I do think good feedback should make you feel a little bit uncomfortable because if it's not, you're kind of in your comfort zone. You're just hearing what you
Yeah.
expect to hear. You're not
Mm.
really getting anything that's challenging you. So the discomfort shouldn't be making you feel like crap. It should be making you feel there's room to grow or there's some things I can improve on and there's something to
Yeah.
develop here. Because if you're only hearing good things, you're not getting valuable feedback. We want to hear what we do well for sure. That should be definitely included in our feedback. Look for what you do well in your own personal reviews. And if you're reviewing someone else, definitely should be doing that. And if you ever get a review from somebody else that is all negative, you should probably challenge that and say, hey, look, could you actually review this again or add in some things that I actually did well? Because there must be
Mm.
something. and
Yeah,
yeah, but we do
yeah.
that for ourselves. We're our own worst critics, I think, some of the time. But we should be able to at least make ourselves feel a little bit challenged, hopefully in a healthy way with our reviews and feedbacks. But I do think this is one of the reasons why people are sometimes a bit scared of it.
I'm actually taking a couple of notes while we're talking today. But, the other thing that kind of got me into the mindset, the idea of evaluation, self evaluation, was when I did work for this company. There were people much higher up the coaching totem pole than myself who were listening and watching, even sometimes live, doing live coaching sessions. Those are really tough to do in front of people and to be rated by a group of peers. So there were levels and levels of that. And I really think that that moment changed how I coached and my perspective of the growth process because, I think I was always looking high performer, still recovering overachiever my whole life. It kind of took me out of that space where if I just allow it to be a tool to grow me incrementally as a coach, there's nothing bad about that. Even if I don't get it perfectly right, it's okay. But it was really, really uncomfortable in the beginning. And it wasn't even, I would hope to say to you that if not for that experience with that company, that at some point I might have said, maybe I need to do a little self evaluation here. I don't know that though, because it didn't happen that way. So I don't want to lie and pretend.
Hmm. I think there are times I've experienced this, maybe you have as well, where you know that a review that you might be getting from someone else could actually be a bit of a pass fail situation. It can affect your future. But reviewing yourself, that's not the case. This is not the time to be hypercritical. This is the time to gather
Yeah.
the data, try and distance yourself a little bit as if you're listening to someone else giving a coaching call. I know we can't completely do that, but we can a bit. Try and get over that you're hearing your voice back or seeing yourself on video
Yeah.
because people do feel horrible about that. And so you don't want to, don't be criticizing your appearance, don't be criticizing the sound of your voice, but you may want to notice other times where you didn't respond the way that you wanted to, or you
Mhm.
would have preferred to thinking back now with hindsight, you would have preferred to have said this instead. Those are the kinds of things that go, all right, great, make a note of that because that could help you in future coaching sessions. This is much more have some curiosity about this for yourself, but
Mhm.
don't hold yourself to a ridiculous standard. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to give yourself something to improve on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And implementation, I think, is the key. It's the same way we would maybe challenge a client. Hey, we just discovered this. We had this awareness, right? We discovered this we had this awareness, this moment, this epiphany. Now what? What do I do with this? Oh, okay. There are some tools here, things that I could improve upon, expand upon that are great, right? Because it isn't this self deprecating. It shouldn't be. It should be all positive, even if you find I'm really great at this, but I'm not so great at this. So, implementation, you have to even come up with a plan. Like all of our sessions are organic, right, in nature. So, it's hard to say, well, I'm going to do this at this time. But I think bringing it to the forefront, top of mind, and then implementation of that new practice, that is really how we're going to grow and expand. I mean, honestly, without that type of observation, how do we grow as coaches? How do we become better at what we do beyond the
Yeah.
book or the new certification or whatever?
Let me say this. When I worked in sales, one of the things that we had to do because our calls were recorded,
Hmm.
we would have regular training and we would have to bring to those trainings. Now, sometimes it would be with the owner of the company, sometimes it would be with an external trainer that had hired to do the sales training. But we would
Yeah.
have to bring a recording of a call that went well and of a call that didn't go so great. And we would get complete round. all around feedback on that, on everything that
Right.
went well and everything that didn't go well. So we were very clear on what had to be improved upon. At first, that's incredibly uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
after a while, you really do come to value it and you get a lot of growth a lot quicker when you're getting that. I'm wondering though, do you ask your clients for feedback? And if you do,
Yeah.
how often do you think we should be doing that?
Yeah. So, okay, there's a couple of things I do. The first thing I do is after each at the end of each session, I don't say, "Oh, what'd you love? What did you like?" I don't ask that. I ask, "What was of value? What was of value for you today?" And it's not because I need them to tell me how great I am or how I'm not so great. It's me kind of diving into what's resonating with them and understanding that more clearly. The second thing, though, is depending on how many sessions of what package they purchase. If somebody purchases 26 sessions, which is essentially a 6-month period, I will do a halfway mark and just do a very strategic questionnaire that they get from me just so I understand what their perception is of not just the actual coaching, but what would you like to see more of from your coach? Do you feel you need to be more challenged? Most people, I would say 85 plus percent actually really do a great job with that. I have had the people that are, well, she should be nicer or things, low level things, which tells me that they're still uncomfortable with the process. But that's something that I do. And then at the end, I will do the same thing. What was your overall experience? And I give them opportunity to not just answer yes or no or do a rating. There's opportunity for them to speak to me. And then if I'm working with a corporate client who hired me to train or coach, I should say, multiples of people. So not only does the client get it, but then the corporation gets it as well. Because I need to know how this is working outside of these beautiful sessions that I'm delivering. So I do
Yeah.
ask halfway through and then again at the end.
Which we're saying is good advice. I think we have touched on this before in episode. This is especially important if you do work in a team with other coaches or a larger organization with other coaches.
Mm.
If you have people working with you, you should probably be not just reviewing your own calls, but reviewing each other's calls and coming together to do that in the same kind of way. Because I don't know if you remember this, but when we were both working for the same organization for a while, I was trying to get them to implement that we would regularly review each other's calls and have
Yeah.
coach
Hmm.
meetings to do that. I don't think they were super excited about doing it, and I'm pretty sure they never implemented it. But I was really pushing for it because I thought if we were hungry for development, hungry for growth. And to me, this is one of the easiest ways to get that happening. I'm not saying we didn't get any development when we were there, we did, but this could have been much more valuable feedback to see how each other and how other coaches doing the same
Yes.
kind of thing are working. What kind of questions are they asking? Learn from each other. Where was something they could have done better? Where was something they did really well that you would want to emulate? Super valuable.
Yes. Yeah. I was just going to bring up if you are a solopreneur, if you are that person, you're a coach, you sit in a home office, or my friend John here, he travels to an office that is just his. And
Till the end of this week, yeah.
okay, and we'll talk more about that later, right? But if you are that person who's generally alone, I think if you're outside of an organization that is specifically geared toward coaching, where hopefully you are being challenged and always getting reminded of your own personal growth, right? Because that company has an interest in you doing well and delivering great sessions. Because if not, somebody might sign on once and then that's it. The name of the game is you're done. It's not great. It sounded good. So they have an interest in you growing. But if you lose that opportunity, which is bringing me to what you just said, it is extremely valuable for you to bring in people that you trust, Anjit, right? They understand coaching. I certainly couldn't ask somebody I know, a friend or a family member that's not in this field to listen. Even if they listen to a podcast, they're like, wow, they think we're superheroes when they hear us talking here on a podcast. It's a very different dynamic. But
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I think there is great value in utilizing the people that you trust to challenge you and say, I think you did these things really well. And this I felt got dropped off, or you and I did this recently, right? We kind of did this. And I have to be honest, I don't know if I ever told you this, John, but I was uncomfortable. John asked me for feedback. And I had to look for it because it was a great session, but there was a specific purpose behind this, right? That we did this without getting into all of that. It was really uncomfortable for me because I adore him and love him and think he's amazing. So for me to come back and say, well, I think this, and he, listen, anything that I gave him in terms of feedback, he did receive well, which is why I don't think utilizing the people you know and love is a great idea because I initially was uncomfortable and
I
I
didn't
did
know
it.
that. I'm sorry. I made you
No,
uncomfortable.
no, what do you mean? There's no, he's so funny. But I wanted to because there was a specific outcome that we were looking for. So I had to push past my love and affection and put on my trainer cap, if you will, trainer
Yeah.
coach cap, because I was that person and really I felt not harsh, but I was, hey, this was great, but this wasn't so great. I hope that that was, I don't know, we never talked about it again, but I
We
hope
didn't need
that
to,
even
but
outside of the reasonable, we're still here, right? So this is good. I would hope that even beyond what the purpose was for that exercise, that maybe there's pieces that you took away and said, I really should consider that or think about that. But I agree, there's
100%.
excellent value in
Yeah.
having give you that overarching, who are you as
I
a
don't
coach?
I really appreciate that you did that, especially now I understand how that it was a bit challenging for you as well. So thank you even more. But yeah, definitely that was really useful for me. And I don't know what this says about how different we are, but if the tables were turned, I would
Oh,
have no hesitation.
okay, you heard it here first, folks. He would come at me, guns a blazing, uh, and
Not
maybe.
really
And
like
listen,
that, but this
I
I just have a perspective that I think feedback is a gift, and that's
yeah,
how I look at it.
yeah,
I think honest feedback or valuable feedback that helps you to grow and develop, even if it's a bit difficult to hear, is a gift. And I would never present it in the way as a, oh, hey, Andrew, this sucked. You were terrible at this. It would never be that. It would be, all right, here's what I saw you did well. Here's where I think there's some
yeah,
potentially there was some room for improvement, or it might even be, here's what you could have done differently, or here's how I might have handled it in that situation, if that's of value to you. It may not even just be saying, oh, you should have done this. It might be more, here's another option for you that in that situation that you might find helpful in the future, or what you did was actually fine. That's really what it is. But I just view feedback in that kind of way. I guess I don't think about that you're gonna maybe you might get upset about it because I think knowing you as well as I do, and anyone who's likely to ask me for that, I do tend to assume that if there's a problem with the feedback, they're going to let me know. So,
well, listen, I think that part of the beauty of getting feedback is there has to be a mutual respect. There has to be a respect if you are the person receiving the information, you have to be able to take that constructively because it's not criticism. I don't believe in constructive criticism. I think that is a BS term. I think constructive feedback is really important. And I think the person delivering needs to be a little bit sensitive. For example, if you guys haven't figured out by now, John and I are very different in our approach. He's more zen, I'm more direct. As a direct person, that doesn't mean that I can handle everything. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to strike a chord with me, right? Hit a nerve. And you as the delivery person need to be, I think, conscientious of that. Be respectful, be professional, so that you don't really incite any type of negative inflammatory feelings with the other person. There has to be that
yeah.
mutual respect. If you're going to put yourself in that position, this just came to mind. When you and I did work for that same company, one of the things that I really did appreciate though was coming on board and having other not, I don't think more seasoned in terms of being in the industry, but more seasoned in terms of working at that company, people listening, people watching, participating, while we were doing what we were doing. And I really loved that. I really respected and valued getting that feedback, not because I wanted to get it right, but because I recognized how much I needed that. And sometimes this was a beautiful thing, and I'm sure this happened for you. Sometimes people were actually able to say, when you handled this, I really thought that was great. I wouldn't have thought of that. Not because they're validating us, it was because they was able to, even as a student, be the teacher, which to me also kind of reflected that I do know what I'm doing. and there is value. I can still provide value even in my imperfection. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a cool thing.
I think that opportunity is always there to be the teacher, even when you're the student. I think we should always keep that student mentality, even when we are very seasoned, is that we are eternal students as well. We are learning even from those who may have much less time and experience than us. But let me ask you this, because I think this is important, and maybe to start to wrap up with this as well. But what are the questions you would ask yourself to review with?
This is my rule of thumb. What went really well in that session today in terms of did they have any epiphanies, ahas, wins, whatever? What went really well that I can expand upon? And that might even come from my perspective along with what they valued. And then the second question, it always is, what can I even do better? Even if it went fantastic, it felt great, they had an epiphany, it's the perfect storm of greatness in a session, which, by the way, doesn't happen every time. It doesn't happen all the time. It's probably less time than we would think. But if it's great, okay, what can I still do better? Where
Yeah.
did I feel off? Was I distracted? There's a bunch of questions that I will literally go through as I revisit that session.
Yeah.
Absolutely. None of it
A-
negative, though.
and and you may come, if you record your session and play it back, you may come up with some other things as well, rather than just pulling from memory what you feel went well, what maybe where there was room for improvement. You might start to notice some other things. I would always finish up with the review with, what could I do better? What can I work on to be a better coach going forward? When you're reviewing that, as well as reviewing, what am I doing better that I've been working on? Where have I made some improvements? Track your own progress with all of this. One of the things I have done is put together a little review question sheet for our listener, so that you can, it's going to be in the show notes for you on the YouTube description. You can go and download it free. You don't have to give us your email address or anything like that. You can just go and get the PDF for free, and it's in those show notes, just to give you some simple questions that we've just been talking about and a few more to help you review your own sessions and know what to look for and what to keep working on. So
Oh, very cool.
we hope you'll find that helpful. But yeah, it's such an important area to be reviewing and getting a bit of external review as well where you can, but definitely reviewing yourself too, getting some client feedback. All of these
Yeah.
things going to help make you an even more amazing coach than you
Yeah,
already
there's
are,
no
right?
way you're going to grow. If you get too comfortable within yourself or with yourself, you stop growing as a coach, and the new clients that you receive may not recognize it. But if you have repeat clients, it will get stale like day old bread sitting out on the counter in Arizona heat, right? It will get stale. So this is definitely a practice that I think most of us just don't do naturally and inherently unless we're taught and it's illustrated, but great value. We want to
We
grow as much
recommend
as
it.
we want. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
If
All day
if you're
long.
not growing, you're stagnating. So
Correct.
maybe you're at the start of that, but there's no need to be. Keep
Yeah.
growing, keep developing. The more you grow, the more your clients can grow with you. Maybe some of them will just stay with you even longer because of that.
Yeah.
I've had clients I've worked with for years because I've kept my development going all that time. I've grown as a coach while I've worked
Hmm.
with them as well. So much to get from this. Angie, I think we've covered a lot here. You happy that we've done
Love
this topic
it.
some justice today?
Love it.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, we'll come back next time and do it again. We'll hit another topic. So make sure that you don't miss that next week.
Do you have a question for the coaching clinic?
Reach out on LinkedIn to connect with Angie and John.
Leave us a voicemail or video message and we will feature you on the show.
You can also leave up to 90-second voicemail for free on www.speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye for now.